It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
I've realized the reason I haven't done a show on buying a house is because I've screwed this up. I've screwed this up. And let me tell you a story on how not to buy your first house.
I love it. The money guy mess ups. Here we go.
Man, these are humbling. Very humbling. So the first mistake, number one, you shouldn't plan a wedding and build a house at the same time while you're 24.
Oh, wow.
So first of all, when I got married, I had two parents that were still together, healthy couple, had two in-laws. Nobody thought this was insane that two people who had never lived together, just graduated from college, getting married, and they're going to build a house. We didn't buy a house. We built a house.
Right.
That's a mistake. That probably is getting the cart before the horse.
Sure.
But somehow parents thought this is completely reasonable. Mistake number two. I purchased furniture on credit 3 weeks before we're to close on the house. This seems, and the thing is, I had cash for this furniture that I was buying for the house.
So why on earth, Brian, would you purchase it on credit?
This sickness that you guys experience every week with the Money Guy Show has been going on decades. When you go buy furniture, you know what they do. They say, you're buying a lot of furniture. If you will do a store credit card, we'll give you a 10% discount. Huh? 10% discount? I'm in. Sign me up. So I sign up for the store credit card. And then when I go, the mortgage company reaches out to the real estate agent we're working with and says, by the way, we're having trouble with the mortgage. Of course, why would you? Well, you should have trouble with a mortgage with two 24-year-olds buying a house. But it messed up my rate. Yeah. I had to pay a little bit higher. I had to do some crazy structure. We'll get into that stuff in a minute. And then number three, my wife and I, freshly minted wife, probably all of a week when we went to go close on this house, showed up at closing with no preparation and a checkbook.
Wait, like your personal checkbook?
Yeah, this is, by the way, you guys, if you're a first-time home buyer, there is a whole process we're going to go over today, is that you show up, you're supposed to wire the funds. You don't show up with a checkbook. Because you show up with a checkbook, they're going to look at you like, what are we going to do with that? You got to wire the funds into the account. And the other thing is, we didn't look over a settlement statement to make sure everything was okay. So this closing ended up lasting over 3 hours. God bless that closing attorney. He earned every penny. But that's a disaster. That's not how you're supposed. Those three mistakes are horrendous, but you can understand how a first-time home buyer doesn't know the process, and we're going to help you through that. So let me tell you a story on how not to sell your home.
Well, I was just going to share one that I thought, because since you're sharing about ways that you screw up, if you have three of them, I can share one, and that, that's
well, you decided to trump me. Didn't you buy your first house when you were like 21?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, I bought my first house when I was 21, and truthfully, I had no business buying a home, but I really understood the mathematics of the transaction. I could either throw away money and rent, or I could buy a house and start building equity. Well, I learned very quickly that that's not, while math is math and sometimes it can make sense, there are other circumstances that come into the equation. And
it's that peer pressure.
I'm
telling you, it is that peer pressure. Right. You feel like you have to buy the house, get married, start having kids to do this American dream thing. And look, all that stuff is healthy and good, but you can sometimes let that peer pressure push you to do things before you're necessarily ready.
That's right.
So I've told you the story of mistakes on how not to buy your house. How about mistakes on selling your house? Because I've done these. This is more confessions. And surprisingly, I was able to come up with 3 of these quite easily too. So mistake number one, not being realistic on what my house was worth.
Oh man, that's such a good one.
So let me tell you guys, my first house that I built, blood, sweat, and tears that my 24-year-old bride and I put together. We loved this house so much that when it was time to sell it to move to a new house, we put it on the market, and I kid you not, we got an offer in the first week.
Oh, that's great.
First week.
That's fantastic.
We put the house on the market for $229. First week, military couple moving into the area offered us $215 with them paying closing costs.
Oh, that sounds great, man. Yeah. So y'all did all right on your first home sale.
I turned down that offer. Thought they took too much off the top. So that's mistake number one, not knowing what your house is worth. Mistake number two, and it's related. is I didn't understand how expensive closing costs and how much they reduced your final check. What I should have known, a much wiser Brian now knows, that if they're paying all the closing costs, that's 2 to 5%. So if you do the math on that, it's $4,000 to $10,000 difference.
Yeah.
I probably should have taken that first offer, but I was naive and didn't know any better. And mistake number 3, after I failed to take the perfect buyer, which is a person relocating the area that's going to have somebody else paying their closing costs like this military couple was, I decided the next one, we're just going to take whatever contract came through.
Right.
So I did a contingent contract with somebody who was just trying to scam the system to get their child into the school system. So I rectified that. But on my second house that I sold, I did another contingent contract because I felt sorry for the couple.
Yeah.
And because they had a good story. I'm a softie. This is why I don't do a lot of rental property. I'd be a horrible landlord. I'd be a great landlord if I'm your landlord. Horrible landlord to my back pocket. But so you have to be very wary of contingent and unique contract terms. But those are my 3 mistakes that I just wanted to share, that we all have room for improvement. And we're going to show you how to maximize this. Now, fortunately, I've built a second house. I've built a third house. And I've done some rental property. I've gotten much better at the process, and we're going to be able to share that wisdom with you. But I felt like it's humbling, but also I think it shows you that even people who are good with money, I've always felt like I'm good with money. If you don't know the process, you too can have mistakes that can cost you dearly, for your finances, your back pocket, and even for your future. So you need to be smart about this stuff.
One mistake I thought when I bought my first house at 21 and I sold it when I was in my mid-20s. And what I thought was so unique is this guy came to view the house and he shared this story about how he had recently been divorced and had this young child, and he was so, he really kind of gave me this sob story. And just like you, I kind of felt sorry for him, and I kind of forgot that this is a capital transaction. And so he made an offer, and I was like, yeah, you know what, man? Yeah. Okay, we can do that. And then, like, the next day, I found out it was an all-cash offer, and he was just going to write a check for it. And I recognized this wasn't like a house. He wasn't exactly being completely truthful of what he was trying to do. And I recognized, I kind of wore a little bit of that. And understanding that when you go through these types of transactions, you do have to kind of take care of yourself and make sure that you are putting your best foot forward when you're working through these big life decisions.
Yeah.